That young man was excited, to say the least, about the scene unfolding below us on West Hickory Street, headed into the town square of Denton, Texas, where 50-plus custom Peterbilts had begun to line up at Hickory and Elm, each to in turn make their run around the square in Peterbilt's Pride and Class Parade. This was last October, 2023, and the freight demand situation for many in attendance could easily have put a damper on the mood of all involved.
If you're not struggling in trucking, you better be very quiet about it.
Certainly don't tell anyone, fleet owner Troy Massey went on from there to say. If you do, chances are they'll be coming for your business soon enough. I'm Todd Dills, and know that though freight market dynamics could have put a damper on the proceedings, in general the mood at the invite-only Pride and Class event for truck owners was upbeat, for Massey included.
No, this is a pretty prestigious event. Yeah, I've never been invited before. This is my first year.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited.
The same goes for two other owners featured in today's edition of Overdrive Radio for February 16th, 2024 for podcast subscribers, and airing at the world-famous overdriveonline.com Monday, February 19th. Wherever you're listening, settle in for a tour through history via three models and a long lineage of Pete's. From a 1984 vintage Peterbilt 359, custom restored by owner-operator Greg Crispell, to oil and gas pipeline professional Jarrett Landry's quote-unquote oversized dually.
It's an 88 379 extended hood, 48-inch stand-up, 240 wheelbase on a newer chassis.
And finally, Troy Massey's latest custom creation, moving well forward into model year 2022 389. With the 589 taking that model's place in the long hood genre for Pete this year, consider today's edition something of a tribute to all that's come before, and all that remains well entrenched in the present through the work of these owner-operators. We'll dive right in with owner-operator Greg Crispell's 359 after the break. Keep tuned.
Winter weather predictions can be unreliable. Be prepared for whatever's in store this year with Howe's Diesel Treat and Howe's Diesel Lifeline. The nation's #1 anti-gel, Diesel Treat is the only guaranteed anti-gel on the market. And Diesel Lifeline has absolutely no harmful alcohol and requires no mixing or fuel filter replacements. Available nationwide, Howe's products are designed to keep you rolling through the toughest conditions. Howe's, tested, trusted, guaranteed. Visit Howe'sProducts.com.
You find more information at HOWES, Howe'sProducts.com. Now, here's a bit of a window on the one-truck business of owner-operator Greg Crispell, who's kept in working order the 1984 Model 359 I mentioned earlier. To start, a little window on the Pete Pride and Class Parade around the Denton Town Square in Texas. The voice you'll hear to start is that of Peterbilt's own Jan Langelius, who emceed the parade, sharing information about each truck and its owner as it began its lap around the square to the delight of the throngs lining the road and the rooftops all around. Here we go.
This truck comes to us all the way from my own state, New York. Known by Greg Crispell, this is a 1984 model 359 with a 280 wheelbase. It normally pulls a step-back trailer. Right in New York, this is Greg Crispell. Thanks for bringing us and show our way. We'll be seeing through the time to figure out who comes from the farthest away. Wonderfully see truck coming all the way from the East Coast. This is a 1984 359. Greg Crispell, thanks for bringing it to us.
Greg Crispell, Dryden, New York. This is my baby. Like I said, originally it was a short hood. Made it an extended hood. And like from when I first got it to when I first put it on the road, that was probably a 3-4 year. Turned 21, got my license, put it on the road, and went to work. And then 4 or 5 years after that, pulled it back apart and made it into an extended hood. So just kind of did all the work myself. And in my dad's barn, I had a couple guys help me make the hood panels when I made it into an extended hood, but aside from that, pretty much did everything myself. So originally it was a 250 wheelbase. It was a day cab when I got it, but it had the opening for one of these sleepers. Okay. So I had got that sleeper, bought that from a guy local to me after I got the truck and put it together. Knock on wood, the motor's fairly untouched. I mean, I've put I put a turbo on it, little maintenance, gaskets, air compressor, little things, but I haven't done an in-frame or anything on the engine yet. It's a reman engine. Okay. There's a tag on it. I'm guessing from the 90s-ish, based on what the previous owner had told us about it. So I pull a step deck around. I haul a lot of landscaping material, flagstone, bluestone, stuff like that. And fall time, we haul apples for a little cider mill and just whatever comes up. Used to haul a lot of ag-related stuff, hay and stuff like that. I stay close to home all the time. Yeah. We're usually almost always within New York State. Once in a while, I'll go to PA or Ohio or somewhere. But
Owner-operator Greg Crispell came to trucking the way so many do, following in the footsteps of his owner-operator father.
And your dad, you said your dad was in trucking as well, is?
Yeah, he always, his whole life, he's trucked. He's got like I said, he's got an 86 black extended hood. Very similar to this, but it's, original 250 wheelbase, very original truck. And
cool.
He bought that the same week I was born. So I grew up around that truck, and that kind of always, I want one of them one day. And that's kind of how this all happened.
Yeah, that's like the in your head, like
that's
the truck. That is
right.
When people say a truck, that's what you see.
Yeah.
Cool. That's good to meet you.
And he's still got that truck. He runs it all the time, so works it still. So
what is he doing? Is he doing similar type of work?
He hauls. He's got a dump trailer. He hauls a lot of grain, ag-related commodities. When I was in high school, I took 2 years of a welding class in school. So metal fab has kind of always been in my wheelhouse. And, I always wanted cool stuff, and I couldn't afford to pay people to build me cool stuff. So kind of learned how to paint and do that kind of stuff on my own. Just figured out, winged it. This thing was kind of a guinea pig for a lot of stuff, teaching myself how to do things. It's not perfect, but pretty much did it all alone. So
right. You didn't build that visor, did you?
I sure did. Yeah, I made an aluminum one for it a couple years ago out of I put a bead roll in it, something different. And then about a year ago almost, I got a hold of some mirror stainless and started playing with that. Building visors, and I've shipped like 30 of them to different guys all over. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram both.
What's your name?
Look up my name.
Our intrepid video men Lawson Rudizel and Andrew Gwynn have already produced the video showcasing owner-operator Crispell's 1984 model, in which you can check out that visor he was talking about there. Likewise, the rest of the extensive work put into getting the 84 just like he wanted it. I'll post a link to it in the show notes for sure. For the next couple of Pete's, whose stories you'll hear, though, you'll have to wait a little longer for the full video treatment. First up, moving along the historical timeline forward just a bit to the replacement model for the 359. Jarrett Landry's single drive axle Project Pete is a 1988 379 from very early in that model's history. Landry's done quite a lot of modification work on the rig, which had been a day cab when he found it and dove headfirst into a 3-year project custom restoration. There's a sleeper on it now, yet it's not exactly used for its traditional purpose. Here's Louisiana headquartered Jarrett Landry.
I've had people ask me already a couple times, if you would sell it, and it's like, it really ain't. There's quite a bit of sentimental stuff on the truck, but I got 2 little boys that me and my wife both showed livestock, so hopefully they'll want to do the same. And the goal is it'll pull a livestock combo trailer around, and that's what we'll go to livestock shows in. So my name's Jarrett Landry. I'm from Singer, Louisiana, kind of, North Lake Charles, south of DeRidder, southwest corner. The truck's a 88 379 extended hood, 48-inch stand-up, 240 wheelbase on a newer chassis. I parted out a bunch of trucks when I built it, so one of them that I parted out, I just frame swapped it and let it be. So it's got a B model in it. Being not knowing the condition of it, it got rebuilt. There's a guy out of western Kansas, Sean Wiltfong. help me through text message and Facebook Messenger. I rebuilt the motor myself. If I run into any questions, I'd ask him. And I'm a sucker for I can't leave nothing stock at all. I can't just leave it be. So it's got a set of factory Acert turbos mounted on it on a full tilt manifold. It's got some big nozzles in it. Sean meter timed it and set the pump and all that. It's got a 13-speed behind it, 336s. It's got a true track or a locker in it just to kind of help in case you get on wet ground being a single axle.
Right.
People ask, or they'll make some comment about, you left the axle at home, or what's the purpose of it? And it's an oversized dually, really. That's all it is. My day job is I'm in oil and gas. I'm a pipeline. I'm a project manager for a pipeline company.
Right.
So my dad's been a truck driver for 30 years. So that's where the connection is. I don't do it for a living.
His name's Wade, and he's owner operator, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
As a kid, you always, you're kind of interested in them, and I'd always see, if you ever get the opportunity to do one, it'd be cool to do it, and the opportunity was there, so I did it.
Right.
It was 3.5 years, I guess, something like that. When I bought it, it was literally a flower pot. From the block up was in the cab of the truck. It wasn't running. It was a lowboy trailer full of stuff when we come home. And, I believe last I counted, there's like 11 or 12 trucks it took to put this one back together. So new parts was more than I was wanting to spend. So I would buy either wrecked stuff or messed up, and the goal always was to buy it, get what I wanted, sell the rest, and get all my money back. And most of the time it worked out pretty good, just depending on what I needed, depending on what I hunted to find to steal parts off of. I had found some trucks on Facebook that I was going to look at, and just as luck, my dad had a Kenworth at the time. It's not a Kenworth fan. This dude actually had a truck for sale in North Louisiana that my dad was interested in. So
Jarrett's dad was on hand in Denton for the Pride Class event too. Longtime owner-operator Wade Landry.
I looked at a couple. I'd wanted a project. Looked at a couple on the way up there. Went and looked at that one for my dad, and I told the guy that had it what I was doing. Yeah. And he said, if you want a project, I got one. It's right around the corner of the shop. And this thing sat, and it was like, the price was right. It was sure enough a project. And Dad wanted the truck he had, so it was just easy to buy both of them from the same spot. Like, the sleeper's all been gutted. There's no bed in it. There's no closets. It's got 2 Bostrom Pro Rides that matches the front. Just so everybody rides comfortably, because as a kid I rode on the bed, and it's comfortable for a little bit until the coolness wears off, then it's not comfortable no more. So we done some things on the inside to make it in the future to where when they start riding in it, there's a spot for a TV to mount. So try to make it as comfortable as possible. The goal was, I'm from Louisiana. I looked at pictures for days during the build of this, and those Southern California trucks seemed to always, they were cool. They caught my eye. They were cool. They were different. They were clean. So I went for a early 90s West Coast theme without ever seeing a West Coast truck, basically, other than in pictures. So the interior's original. It's all new, but it's original stitching, and it's got the short stainless panels from 12 gauge. Certain things on these trucks I feel like are supposed to be shiny and not painted, so we tried to keep the shiny stuff shiny and keep the paint where the paint was supposed to be. The stripes actually come off of a truck when I was a kid. My dad had, it was yellow and orange, where mine's black and red. So picking a stripe pattern, every time you see a stripe pattern, that means there was another truck out there. So this pattern was, I really never seen it but a couple times outside of the one he had. So and it was different, and that's why I got. There's a couple trucks on the East Coast that have it. I think there used to be a company out of California that actually their trucks were painted this way as factory, company trucks. And then there's a few on the East Coast that are owner-operated or privately owned trucks that I've seen, and other than that, that's it. There's no trucks in my area with this. The truck's actually, it's been together a year. Nacogdoches, the Old Town Rig Down show last year was the first time it moved out of my shop or under its own power. And from then, at the time I wanted I had the newer style look on it. It had the fiberglass drops and the tainted tank straps, and so in a year it's undergone like a remake, and this is the right look that the truck has now. Glass lights, just LEDs are cool, but they didn't have LEDs in the 90s. I did cheat a little bit. I do have LED bulbs in the glass, but other than that, try to keep it as original as possible.
I've shared a couple pictures of the 1988 379 in the parade and out at the staging location at the PACCAR leasing facility nearby the Pete assembly plant in Denton. Catch a link to those shots in the show notes for the podcast. Likewise, a few more in the post that will ultimately house this edition of Overdrive Radio at overdriveonline.com/overdrive-radio. The post will be dated February 19th, 2024. Next up, moving well ahead in time to a 2022 model 389 that was on hand for the Pride in Class event.
I got a little sound system in it, nothing too much. Just I think we got two 12s, and we replaced all of everything in it's JL, and then we replaced all the factory speakers with JL, and we still use the factory head unit.
Okay.
So got a little extra stereo, and then nothing like Lot Right. Lot Right's 15,000 watts. It's nothing like that one.
That was a voice longtime Overdrive Radio listeners might well recognize in Texas headquartered Troy Massey, Massey Motor Freight, referencing a truck we saw at the 2022 Mayberry Truck Show, originally called Lot Right. That 2014 389 was exceptional for quite a big number of features, but none more so than the sound system Massey referenced there. That truck, too, had a bit of quite literal lot rot to it for the custom build. It had been sitting a good while before the team went to work on it. The 2022 model Massey brought to Pride in Class, though, had a different story arc for sure.
Started out with as naked as a truck as you could get from Peterbilt, white, just a plain white truck with nothing on it, no exhaust, anything, and a baffin blue frame.
Okay.
And we got the truck in. It sat for a while because the name of the truck is Dust in the Wind, and unfortunately our salesman and our friend, friend first, salesman second, Dustin, he passed during COVID. So the truck sat for a little while we figured out what we were going to do to honor him. So we decided we'd call the truck Dust in the Wind, and then we began work. So we stripped it all the way down with literally 0 miles on it. We stripped it down to the frame, no cab, no sleeper, no engine, no radiator assembly, no nothing. And we started ordering new parts, and a lot of I would say most of the metal work we did in our shop, fabbing things up. We did bring in our friends from New Gen for the fenders and the T-bar and rear bumper. They put their kind of signature package on there.
Okay.
And we wanted something strong and sturdy, and we needed to focus our time on a lot of the other custom things. So all of the panels, the deck plate, because it has an underbelly also under it that's got lights facing down, and you can't see up in the frame.
Right.
All of the panels, they wrap around the fuel tank, the way they do that. So they started out as bulbs, and then the other 50% is we just built onto them and made it look as if they came that way, which is a job in its own. Around behind the sleeper of the truck, we relocated all the sleeper suspension and airbags, built a little panel to hide all that, so it's real clean and neat looking. Behind the exhaust, because it does have weed burner, fully functioning DEF system. It's all under factory warranty, so the weed burner is still underneath there. So we do have kind of dummy stacks, but we built these panels behind the stacks so that it's a lot more difficult it kind of tricks your eye a little bit. As you're walking by it don't just stand out and you say, oh, it's got dummy stack. Another cool thing is on the driver's side, there's no DEF tank, and so we did one of the other things that we kind of brought in an outsider is we picked up a Pickett DEF tank relocation. So the batteries went to this side, DEF tank's in the driver's side step, and you fill it right underneath the hood, and put a 150 gallon tank to match the passenger side. Painted those, and so it's white, baffin blue, and then legendary gray. So you see the sparkle in the gray in the sun. And my buddy in Houston, Mike Tatum, he owns an upholstery shop, and that's all he does. And we're lifelong friends, and so I hired him to do this job, so it's a full factory interior, just recovered in King Ranch leather, except for the door panels, because we eliminated the door pockets. As far as the engine, the most of the work that we spent is in the engine bay, because we pulled the engine, pulled the transmission, stripped everything that we could possibly take off of it, and every little item that you can possibly chrome, we sent down to Houston to have it chromed. We even took the air compressor apart. We took the alternator apart. We took everything apart that we could possibly take apart and had it chromed, put it back together, and then reinstalled it. Painted the engine baffin blue, the transmission baffin blue, the front structure's chromed. The motor mounts are chrome. I mean, the fan shroud ring is chrome. The radiator assembly's all chrome. We chromed everything, and then to top it off, the wheels, they're original Peterbilt oval wheels, and we sent them down to a buddy of mine's shop in Houston, and he made what he called big hole Peterbilts. So they still have the factory oval. It's just exaggerated now. Arroyo front end, air ride front end under it with King shocks, piggyback King shocks, and a King steering stabilizer, and we did that so that you can still have that ride quality and no bump steer of a factory air ride, but we can sit the front end all the way on the ground, sit the bumper all the way on the ground when you're parked at a show. Kind of cool, a little show gimmick.
In the interior, 2 mood lights that can cycle between muted colors dot the ceiling. On the floor is a rendering commemorating the life of Rush Peterbilt Lufkin salesman Dustin Dupree, for whom the truck is named. The floor is clear-coated over an image representing what Massey called the quote-unquote highway to heaven, as it were. Catch a picture of it in the post that houses the podcast. Big thanks to Peterbilt for the invite to witness the Pride in Class gathering and parade. Here's thanks to owner-operator Greg Crispell, Jarrett Landry, and fleet owner Troy Massey, all for sharing their pristine Pete's 359, 379, and 389. Keep tuned to the custom rigs section of the website and or Overdrive's YouTube channel for featured videos of Landry's 379 and Massey's 389. Find a link to Crispell's 1984 classic in the show notes, wherever you're listening. Overdrive Radio is on Spotify and SoundCloud, Apple and Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, most any listening platform. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can find me and all of our episodes via overdriveonline.com/overdrive-radio. Big thanks to you for listening. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with the acoustic guitar and other support of trucker-songwriter Long Haul Paul Marhofer. The theme, then, is The Legend of the Snake Man by Marhofer, featuring the guitar work of Travis, the Snake Man himself, Wemmick, Terry Two Socks Richardson on bass, keys by Tishomingo Jim Whitehead, and on drums, Andrew Marshall. The podcast is backed up further by Overdrive's own news editor Matt Cole, executive editor Alex Lockey, and video editors Lawson Richardson and Andrew Glenn.